What's going on, everybody? It's Nick Kosko, your Jersey Flight play-by-play broadcaster. It's an unprecedented time in our country, and of course, the Jersey Flight was supposed to kick off the season this weekend, but unfortunately, the league is going to be delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic. So, we have a little treat for you today over Zoom. I'm pleased to be joined now by head coach of the Jersey Flight, Terry Foster. Coach, it's glad to actually talk to you for the first time in a couple of weeks. How are you doing? Just the first of, how are you and the family are doing right now?
Oh, we're doing pretty good. It is definitely a trying time. And, as I sit and think about it, I'm excited to be home with the family. And at the same time, I'm a little saddened because we were supposed to start this weekend. But we'll enjoy Easter. We'll sit back and, kind of just wait on the league and the government to make a decision on when we can get back out there. And then, we'll get things going.
Has it been kind of like a reflective period for you and your family, knowing that, there's no football? You're still kind of preparing for the season a little bit, but it's like, all right, we're preparing, but we don't know what we're preparing for yet because obviously, training camps barely got underway. The season was supposed to start, but everyone's been on lockdown for about a month. So what's this whole period been for you and your family in terms of like the reflection and, you're working, but, basically working from home and not quite working as well?
Well, yeah, it's been more of a time to where I've really been able to sit back and really appreciate the things that, during the season, your mind isn't really on. So I've been able to, spend a lot more time with the family, a lot of conversations with my mom, my dad, the people back home in Michigan. So it's been really a time to where you get to reflect on what's important, and I've realized that it's time to be more of a responder and not a reactor. When adversity hits, the big question that I asked our team is, how are we going to respond? A response is something that you think about. A reaction is emotion. So, I think this is a time where people really need to sit down and really start becoming responders rather than reactors.
So let's go back to when the pandemic first hit the country. Sports weren't quite on hold yet. I remember I was working on shift with 24/7 Sports, and I'm like, all right, the Big Ten tournament, all the other college basketball tournaments, like, no fans, and all of a sudden it came to it's canceled. Then the tournament was no fans. Then it was canceled. The NBA said we're stopping. NHL said we're stopping. All the big leagues, all the leagues around the country started saying we're stopping. We're not going to start yet, etc. When it first hit the country, and what was your reaction? What did you think initially, your staff, and the players? Did you guys think, okay, maybe it'll last a couple of weeks and we're going to still start on time, maybe a small delay? Did you think it would last this long and think that your season was actually going to be delayed?
Well, when it first started, it was kind of just us getting the information from what was being provided on TV and, from the newspapers and on online and things of that sort. So, in the beginning, it was like, okay, it'll be a couple of weeks. Maybe this is just they know already. You kind of expect that we're far enough advanced to where the pandemics won't hit us the way that this one has. But again, it's time for us to be more of responders than reactors. I think it's the time now to where during this pandemic we need to be smart. We don't need to be scared. We need to do the things that we need to do to make sure that we can get back to, our regular day from what we're used to. So, did I expect it was going to be this long? No. Am I thankful that we are going through a process to where they're making sure that everyone is safe before we come back? Yes, I am.
Beautiful. So let's go back now, even before it happened. Tell me about you and your preparation with you and your staff, you and the team. What point exactly were you guys at in terms of the preparation for the season, training camps, practices, and what was that like for you?
Well, we were actually, a week and a half out from camp. We had some guys that were actually going to be on their way into town the very next day. I had two guys that were already in town. So, we were working out the logistics for our housing and everything and just trying to get things set up for that first day of camp. So we were really, I had coaches already in place. Our assistant head coach, Tom Manaz, he was already here. And me and him were going over the day-to-day schedule. We were having constant video calls and Zoom meetings with our offense, skill position-wise. So we were already in the process of install. When the pandemic happened and they decided that we were going to postpone, originally they said, tell everyone it's going to be for a week. So my initial call out to the team was, hey, fellas, we got to delay your transportation down here for a week. And then 2 days later, I called them right back and I said, fellas, let's do it like this and play it by ear from this point on. But let's not schedule when we're going to come back yet, because it started growing so fast, out here in New York, in the New York area, with us being right here in New Jersey, it was hitting us quick as well. So, we just, as an ownership group and with the management team, we sat down, we talked about it, and it was more of a, let's make sure that we keep our guys safe. Let's make sure that we notify the fans and kind of let them know what we're going to be doing and talk to our sponsors so that they understand what the situation was.
So now that everybody's in quarantine, and we'll hop off the coronavirus stuff in a sec, but now that everybody's in quarantine, just talk about your players for a second here. Everyone has to adhere to these social distancing guidelines. Obviously, no gyms are open, businesses are closed, except for the essential ones. People are really just obviously they're staying at home right now to, quote unquote, flatten that curve. So what are some of these training techniques? You already mentioned that you're going over face-to-face meetings, obviously via Zoom with your staff, obviously your players as well. What other stuff are you recommending to your players and staff to stay prepared for the season, particularly for the players, knowing that, their workouts are limited depending upon what situation they're in and also what they can do at home. And some of guys like quarterback Warren Smith, like he has to throw, so he has to either throw, maybe between a tire or something like that. So,
right.
What are you recommending to your players and staff to stay physically and mentally in shape here?
Well, definitely to stay in consistent work. A lot of times when you get to this point of the off season, you start to pull back from lifting weights and doing those things anyway. So what I've told them is to do as much manual workouts as you can, using whatever you can at home that you have in order to get a workout in. But mainly just to stay consistent. If it's push-ups and sit-ups and crunches and, just getting out and running around your house, taking walks through the neighborhood, doing what you can to make sure that you stay physically fit, because, health is going to be a big thing. The healthier that you are, the easier it will be, even if you are to get contracted with the disease. So we talk about that. We talk about them making sure that they keep their social distancing, and to just maintain a consistent workout and to talk to each other a lot more. That was one of the things that we did. We do have a team snap to where we communicate with each other. And, I've asked them to make sure that they start reaching out to each other, because we won't have that time to really get to know each other like we would have with camp. Once we get back, I'm sure it's going to be a situation to where it's going to be 1 or 2 weeks and then we're right at it. So we are making sure that the guys continually work and to, stay consistent and just keep in conversation. We talk probably once a week. The offensive skill positions are doing a Zoom call once per week to keep installing. And then defensively, it's more of us just talking about schemes and our philosophies and things that we plan on doing.
So while the return date for the league is unknown at the moment, so let's actually discuss what we do know about the Jersey Flight themselves. So I'll start out with quarterback Warren Smith. I just mentioned before. I know him from last year, obviously doing the Blackjacks in Atlantic City in the Arena Football League back in 2019. He's a Jersey guy. He's a very talented quarterback. He can pretty much do it all. So talk about him and the process of bringing him in as a free agent signing earlier this offseason, what he brings to the table this year.
It was kind of a long, drawn-out thing with Warren, because, Warren was one of the better quarterbacks that was available for this year. But we were lucky, we got Warren. We also have Danny Southwick, who's another veteran quarterback. So we're excited to be able to bring in those type of leaders. Warren, who has experience in the NAL and did very well in the NAL when he played in 2017. In fact, I believe he was the Offensive Player of the Year. So, having that along with, another quarterback to come in to compete with him for that starting job, two great leaders that both have AFL experience, AFL knowledge, and, just the ability to lead. Warren is a real savvy guy. He has lots of energy. And we're excited to have him coming in and ready for him to challenge and pursue being our starting quarterback.
So talk about some of the other playmakers that we haven't really mentioned here on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Obviously, these guys have to throw to a couple of guys as well.
Yeah, and that's really where I think we're really stacked at in that receiver core. We've got some really, really talented guys in the receiving core that have played on every level of football. They've been in all of the leagues, from the NAL to the AFL to the IFL, even some of them playing in the AAL, but very talented group. Brandon Renford, who played in the NAL in 2017 as well with Warren, and with the High Valley Steelhawks. Brandon was the Special Teams Player of the Year, a real dynamic player, lots of speed, and is real hard-nosed when it comes to workouts. So a lot of times he'll contact guys and they still get together and they throw the ball around, with that. And that is kind of practicing social distancing because, they stand about 20 yards apart and play catch. Along with Brandon in that receiver core, we were able to pick up Roger Spider-Man Jackson, who is known here in Trenton for his time when he played with the Freedom, a real dynamic receiver. So we're excited to have him. Milton Williams III, who was with Baltimore in the AFL, another very skilled guy who's been looking for his opportunity to be the guy on the roster. And, we plan on getting him the ball a lot and letting him showcase his talents. And then, we have some receivers that were in the NAL last year that played in Orlando with Edward Victorian, who's another one of those real shifty speed guys. I'm excited to have him. He's played for me a couple of times in the past. We got Eric Brown, who was also with Orlando, Warren Oliver, who played with the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks along with those guys, and David Lewis, a super big target that was in the NAL with Monterey Steel a couple years back, and he's bounced around in a couple of leagues. So we're excited to really get those guys going and get them an opportunity to catch some of those passes and make some big plays, score some touchdowns, and really excite this Trenton fan group.
Sounds good to me. I mean, for sure. I've talked to a couple of people that obviously cover this league, cover indoor football in general. And when every time I tell them, I'm saying to myself, I'm doing the Jersey flight this year. What can you tell me about them from years past? I was like, I did a different league last year. And everyone's saying, well, you see X, Y, and Z guys from the IFL, the AAL, or the NAL from the past couple of years. Now they're all together on this one team in Jersey. This looks like a championship caliber team on paper. And obviously we don't do predictions around here because we're all looking for the same goal here in one organization. But what do you say to those championship aspirations for a team in Jersey that, on paper, you just mentioned a handful of guys on offense at least, that this looks like it could be a high scoring team and a team that's going to be really exciting for this league this year?
On paper, when you look at our roster, most people would say that our trenches pop out. When we first decided to be in the NAL, one of the first things that the staff talked about was making sure that we can win in the trenches, and that's what we did. We went shopping and we picked up some really, really good talent down in there too, with the names likes of Keith Newell, who played with the Philadelphia Soul and was one of the best linemen in the AFL last season. Absolutely. Nathan Isles, another AFL guy. We've got Wandale Rutledge, who's been around. He's played in the AFL, also played in the NAL and other leagues. So Donnell Andrews, who played in the AFL last season with Columbus. And then we got guys, like you said, from the IFL that's been, real dominant in the IFL with Corey Madlock. So, we're excited about our trenches, and that's just the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, we got Jeremiah Zinn, who was in the NAL last year with Orlando. He's also played with the Carolina Cobras. Stephen Fluker, one of our newest signees, who was in the AAL last season, but he's a real big kid, 6'6", 330 pounds, and plays both sides of the ball, real agile with his feet. And then Sean Daniels, who is, going to be probably one of the best D linemen or linebackers in this league, along with Darius Rosser. So we're excited about those guys in the trenches. And then, we got some really, really, really good talented guys in that defensive back crew. Willie Bailey Jr., who was an AFL guy. Robert Brown from Jacksonville, who also played with the Philadelphia Soul. And then we got some younger guys in that defensive back crew that I'm actually excited about. One that's a local, Timothy Breaker. We're real excited about him. Played at Delaware State, is actually a Jersey native. And then Lashard Durr. Lashard was in the XFL this season, played with Massachusetts last season. So, we're excited about the opportunity that we have with these guys. And as far as championships, those are going to be decided in between those lines. People look at the paper and, they say, yeah, they got this, they got that, but it's all going to be about what we do when we come together in jail. How we come to camp and the mindset that we have as we work towards that common goal, which is going to be winning every game, one at a time, and at the end of the year, letting it fall where it falls.
Now, I wanted to get your take on this because obviously Atlantic City had a team last year, and New Jersey loves football. I mean, it's one of those states where people are like, wait, New Jersey loves football? And of course New Jersey loves football. I mean, you see the talent all over the place, from high school to college, all over the pros. New Jersey produces a lot of football talent, and
yes,
based on the roster so far for Jersey, it just seems like there's a lot of local play, a lot of Jersey guys, a lot of Pennsylvania guys, from Philadelphia. So I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to coach a professional football team in New Jersey, considering, obviously the AFL did fold after last season, but the success of the AFL, of the Atlantic City Blackjacks, what does it mean for you to coach a team in New Jersey?
Well, like you said, it's a very talent-rich area. Pennsylvania, the Jersey area, with all of the surrounding areas, those colleges that are here, the experience that a lot of the players in the area have because of all of the AFL teams that were in the area. I mean, you got 5 within the 3-hour radius. So it's exciting to have the opportunity to be able to coach such a talented roster. But for me, it was more of just the community and the philosophy that our owner has, as far as trying to rejuvenate the community and get the youth back involved in sports. So being able to have this type of talent in this area that we can get out into the community and start to get more of the youth involved and back into the sports, that's really important for me in this organization.
I wanted to get your take on, I know we've mentioned a couple of times, because it was the main league for over 30 years, the AFL itself, and it folded for the second time in 10 years just after last season. So it just kind of stinks because, I mean, again, not that I envisioned Jersey and Atlantic City to be playing each other on a year in and year out basis, but what's your take on the fact that the quote unquote biggest league folded, but all these other leagues are doing different things, such as the NAL, the IFL, and the AAL, among others. They're still around after between 3 to 5 to 7 to even 10 years now. They're still around. Now, what's your take on that in terms of these leagues sticking around, but the big brother, so to speak, is gone once again?
I think with the AFL, they had some issues, and the reason they went out, it wasn't really the operations from what they were doing now. It was more of a situation from what happened the first time that they went out dealing with some insurance things. The difference in the NAL compared to what the AFL had is probably cost. Our salaries aren't the same. The cost of being in the league is not the same. And just the way that our commissioner, kind of runs the league through the ownership's groups, votes, and everything like that. I think the way that it's organized and set up, it's putting us on a long-term, stance to where we'll be here for a while. As long as we can continue to find like-minded owners that are all in this to, help build the industry and to help build the individual guys that we have playing. I think that, this will be sustainable. And that's one of the other things that the other leagues have done as well, too. But I do think that the NAL competition-wise is probably one of the higher leagues. Definitely from a management standpoint, being in all of the leagues, I do like what the NAL provides.
So just for the jersey flight now, I noticed from last year to this year, the logo got a tiny bit got a small makeover. It's now blue. I mean, were you a fan of the purple, or are you hopping on board now with this blue now as the primary color?
I got to be honest, it was me that wanted the blue.
There we go. So,
Yeah,
no better man than
the blue. Now the purple, I'm a fan of the purple. It was definitely a good look, but we wanted to tie more to our community. So we wanted to go with the Trenton flag, and that is the color of the Trenton flag, the blue, yellow, and white. So that was kind of the thing behind it.
I wanted to actually ask you now, just to go off that, the community feel. You mentioned it before, and coming from a South Jersey community where I played youth and high school football, our community was always all in on the football, and making sure to give back to the kids. And high school kids would go back down and coach the lower levels. So what exactly do you have planned for the Trenton community and even the surrounding communities based on what your team can do, obviously on a day in and day out basis?
Well, first and foremost, we are going to get out into the high schools and into the little league programs as a coaching staff and as players. We're going to offer youth camps, and as well as a nonprofit that we're starting, which is similar to NFL 60. But we're going to try to get kids involved. And, with the way that things are going right now in Trenton, the high school sports are suffering. Not a lot of kids are playing. Not a lot of kids are playing little league sports anymore. And part of that is because the opportunities aren't there. They don't really get to see the game much. So that's one of the initiatives that we're doing. We are doing a Ticks for Kids program to where we're going to go out to businesses and ask them to donate tickets so that we can bring kids into the game with no cost so that they can get an opportunity to see it and be a part of it. Along with that, we're going to do a similar program like the NFL 60, but it would be more probably a shorter time frame to get these kids back involved. We're also going to educate them on health and nutrition, and just try to show them that as professional athletes, these are the things the steps that we have to take in order to get here, and how fun it can be as you take those steps. So we definitely want to get out into the community and partner with the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Clubs and United Way as well. And just, get into the households of these kids and get them out and come to some games and, just get involved with us. So that's a big initiative for us here in Trenton.
I wanted to leave you here with this one because it kind of relates to the community, but also goes back to the team as well. So, you're obviously you're becoming a Jersey Ivy in front of me in these last 20 minutes right here. So for Jersey as a whole, for the Jersey flight, for the Trenton community and the surrounding communities, what would it mean to, you mentioned the importance of community. How important is it for you guys to put on quality performances week in and week out? And then ultimately, if you guys did bring a championship during the 2020 season, I mean, what does that do for a community like Trenton and the surrounding areas in New Jersey?
Well, it's like I talked about earlier. Our biggest goal right now is to rejuvenate that city. And what's better than a professional football team or a professional sports team getting out into the community and then being successful on the field? I think that's going to be something that's really going to spark the surrounding areas as well as the inner city, and get these kids back involved with playing sports and just being more involved with what we do inside of the city. Sports is not for everyone, but along with the playing of the game, there are other aspects of the game that people can get involved in. And that's what we want to do. We want to try to see as many people as we can reach and as many avenues as we can take.
Coach, I want to thank you for your time today. It was great catching up with you. I just hope you and your family stay safe. And obviously we'll be talking pretty soon. And hopefully we get this football underway and get the season underway and give Trenton something really good to cheer about.
Definitely. And thanks for having me, and thanks for coming aboard to be with us. Ari, SFBN, I'd like to thank you guys. And Harrison, I want to thank you. And I just want to send prayers out to all of the families that have been touched by the COVID-19 virus. And I want to send prayers out to everybody in the flight family to stay safe stay smart, and stay at home.
All right, cool. Thanks, Coach. That's head coach Terry Foster of the Jersey Flight. I am Nick Kosko, your play-by-play broadcaster of the Jersey Flight, saying so long. We'll see you next time, and hopefully we get some football right pretty soon.